Hola amigos de TvAgro, amigos de las plantas.
Hello friends of TvAgro, friends of plants. I'm Diana Elizabeth from Plantar. Today we are going to talk about succulents
Y son unas plantas que
and are plants that retain moisture in the leaves. That's why the term.
suculento. Bueno, comenzaremos por los cactus.
We will begin with cacti. They are fantastic species because they do not demand a lot of time.
Sin embargo, debemos.
However, we must take care of them a lot, always taking into account water, light and air.
Vamos a hablar rápidamente de cada uno.
Let's talk quickly about each one. Cacti, crassulas and succulents. Taking into account that cacti are the ones with thorns.
Por acá los tenemos.
Here we have them. However, we also have crassulas with smaller thorns, like the aloe or the mini aloe.
¿Y qué quiere decir el término caraza?
What does the term crassula mean? These are the ones that contain a lot of liquid in their leaves,
Hojas. Y por eso
and that is why they are so popochas, or so rellenitas. This makes that the plant requires little humidity,
o de poca humedad.
but not null. That is to say, we cannot extend the irrigation for more than 20 days or a month,
Más de 20 días o un mes.
because depending on the pot where they are, they need equus amount of water. So you have to take into account several points.
El tema de la vasija es muy importante.
The subject of the pot is very important. I always emphasize this to the people who ask me,
Tenemos vasijas
because we have pots of different materials and we must provide them with the amount of water depending on this.
dependiendo de esto. Entonces, tenemos sábilas,
So we have aloe vines, crassulas, some cacti, and we are going to talk about a very important point, which is the dirt.
vamos a hablar de un punto súper especial también y muy importante, y es la pruina. La pruina, muchos me preguntan cuando,
Many people ask when they will see plants.
Diana, tus plantas están llenas de polvo.
Diana, are your plants full of dust? To which I answer, this is not dust. The pruina is a dusty textured mantle that covers succulents mostly,
Y son una protección para,
and they are a protection to retain water, which is what they basically need but not very often.
no muy a menudo, las suculentas. Bueno, vamos a hablar de la pruina. ¿Qué es la pruina? La pruina es ese polvo
The pruina is something that, although it seems dust, really is a mantle of a dusty texture that covers the plant.
pero que no es polvo. Quiero aclararlo porque la gente
I want to clarify it because people think that the plants are dirty and what they do is to remove with a wet cloth this protection.
piensa que tiene la planta. Entonces debemos tener cuidado.
Then we must be careful with the cleaning. Instead of being with a wet cloth, we can do it with a brush or even with a blower.
Incluso con un soplador, con un soplete es más fácil quitarle.
It is easier to remove the soil if we have transplanted it or if we have made a terrarium.
Terrario y quedan nuestras plantas con tierra.
This is functional to not remove the pruina because it is very basic and important to protect our plant.
Forma más recomendable para no retirar la pruina porque es muy básica y muy importante para proteger nuestra planta de los fuertes rayos,
From the strong rays of the sun and from the excess of water. Actually, what this powder does is to help with the whole issue of humidity,
de la humedad en la planta, que pues es una humedad
which is very particular in succulents, since they do not need excess water or humidity like other species.
ni humedad como otras especies. Bueno, en cuanto al riego, luz y aire,
Regarding irrigation, light and air for our succulents, we must take into account 3 points.
la vasija donde está ubicada nuestra planta,
The pot where our plant is located, the irrigation should not be so constant since it does not need as much humidity as other species.
dado riego mínimo en realidad.
This is minimum humidity or irrigation. In fact, we need very little water for our plants to survive.
Bueno, en cuanto a la luz, podemos decir que a diferencia de otras especies,
As for light, we can say that unlike other species, we can leave them near the window receiving direct light.
Pero si podemos abrirle la ventana,
But if we open the window so that the light really enters without having a glass would be much better.
sería mucho mejor. Son plantas
They are plants wonderfully adapted to the outside. We can have them in our gardens or front gardens without any problem except for the humidity.
excepto la humedad, obviamente. Yo lo que recomiendo es,
I have been asked many times when they have succulents, how do we protect them from humidity?
pero ¿cómo las protegemos de la humedad? Ok, vamos a hacer algo que demanda un poco de tiempo.
For this, we will do something that demands a little time and is a little expensive both in the realization and maintenance, but it is something that will definitely save the waterlogging of these plants.
No necesitan de tanta humedad y es generar como una cubierta.
It is to generate a cover. It can be done in balsa sticks.
Las tenía en la terraza y es muy fácil.
I had them on the terrace and it is very easy with a fold or a plastic that can be folded,
A plegar y a manera de estacas las ponemos
and as stakes, we put them in the garden when the downpours are really terrible, as it happens at certain times of the year in any part of Colombia.
del año en cualquier parte de Colombia. Vamos a tener cuidado.
We are going to be careful mainly with the humidity of succulent, crasulas and cacti because they do not need a lot of water.
Mucha agua. Son de riego.
They need to be watered between 15 days and a month.
Pueden variar. Puedes regar la planta cada 2 semanas, algunas cada 15 días y otras solamente lo requieren cada mes. ¿Quiénes requieren cada mes el riego? Los cactus.
Most cacti are popochos.
La mayoría son popochos y
And their succulence indicates they do not require so much humidity because they store water themselves.
tanta humedad porque ellos mismos almacenan el agua. Entonces, las suculentas o estas plantas que tienen sus hojas muy carnosas.
So succulents of these plants that have their leaves very fleshy also tell us they do not need much moisture because they themselves are supplying the lack of moisture when there is drought through their leaves full of liquid.
Llenas de líquido. Tenemos las sábilas, que también son de las familias, y
we have the aloe vines that are also familiar and very special. I love them because from what I have read and found,
son plantas que limpian, purifican.
They are plants that are clean, purify the environment, the air, and are energetically super powerful.
Como compañeras de espacio.
I always recommend them as space companions for all these reasons. They are very delicate, but we can take care of them with the basics.
Con lo básico y lo más delicado que hay que tener en cuenta.
The most delicate thing to keep in mind is humidity. They really are hardy plants and we do not water them.
No requieren de más, pueden estar en un espacio cerrado.
That often because they can be in an enclosed space.
Directo. Y no se verá afectada, obviamente.
That is, it can receive direct sun or light.
Repentinos, es decir, puede recibir sol o luz directa, como puede estar en un espacio de semisombra.
As it can also be in a semi-shaded space.
Quiero aclarar algo chistoso y es que las sábilas.
Well, I want to clarify something funny, and that is that the aloe vera are not cactus. Because they have thorns.
Es un dato curioso, pues no es así.
When we say that cacti are the only ones that have thorns, it is a curious fact. It is not so. Some succulents look like thorns like this one I have.
Es una variedad muy hermosa.
In fact, they look like little molars. It is a very beautiful variety, but extremely delicate to humidity.
Entonces, de hecho, yo creo que con todas las que vemos acá,
it is very sensitive to watering. In fact, I believe that with all plants we see here, we must basically take into account the issue of humidity.
Agua. Entonces, hay que manejar ese tema con mucha prudencia.
They are plants that do not require much water, so we must handle this issue with great caution. Another very important point
Estamos utilizando estas especies
is that when we are using these succulent species for terrariums, taking into account that this does not have any drainage, we must perform our filtration.
Los terrarios, y teniendo en cuenta que el terrario no tiene un drenaje, debemos realizar una filtración, es decir, manejar las 2 primeras capas del terrario con...
That is to say, handle the first 2 layers of the terrarium with stone, charcoal, and even rice husk.
La corteza de coco para generar...
or coconut bark to generate a good separation between the soil that can become waterlogged and the pot that has no drainage.
Que pues no tiene drenaje para que nuestros cactus y suculentas
This way our cacti and succulents can easily survive.
A estos ecosistemas
In these ecosystems that are not natural but very beautiful.
son naturales, estos ecosistemas cero naturales pero muy lindos. Yo normalmente lo que hago es, como pueden ver acá en este terrario,
What I normally do, as you can see here, it is to handle several layers of filtration,
estas son corteza,
coconut bark and stone that help the water to go down and not stay here generating a waterlog.
abajo y no se quede acá generando un encharcamiento, y ya arriba vendría la decoración junto con la tierra y las plantas.
At the top, the decoration will come along with the soil and the plants. Please, if they are cacti and succulents, it should be with very little soil so that they do not become waterlogged, because it is very easy for them to rot.
Los terrarios en casa. Por supuesto, nosotros enseñamos y sabemos que
This information is for the curious who want to make terrariums at home. Of course, we teach and we know that we cannot have a lot of soil so that it does not generate too much moisture. Well, friends of TvAgro, it was a pleasure to have told you about these wonderful plants. If you want to contact us, you can do it through social networks on Instagram as Plantar Vivero and on Facebook as Plantar Vivero Virtual. Hasta la próxima.